Hello everyone, it is Hunter from Gaming by Gamers and welcome back to web series episode 12. On today's episode, we're going to be playing Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions for the Xbox 360. The game that won the prestigious award of Best Performance by a Human Male. No, I'm serious. Go look that up, it's real. Before we jump into gameplay though, you might have noticed that the set is a little different. Okay, you mostly noticed the chair. That's actually a gift from this episode's sponsor, Neo Chair. If you stick around towards the end of the video, I'm going to be talking a little more about them. For now, let's get on to the review. So, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. What are we working with here? Well, the game starts out with a narration by Stan Lee, so right off the bat we got ourselves a winner.
Hey there, true believers. Watch as once again, frightening force.
Then they ruin that by immediately showing the worst looking Mysterio I have ever seen. Damn, that is an ugly costume. That being said, the graphics are actually pretty good, and this is a well-animated scene. We see Mysterio trying to steal a tablet from a museum, and Spider-Man is there to stop him. As Spider-Man stops Mysterio, he punches that tablet like it's Thor, and Mysterio escapes. Then Madam Web appears with a bunch of throwback scenes from Spider-Man comic history. She lets Spider-Man know that the tablet he just punched was the most powerful of all the mystic artifacts in the world. Wait, what? You're telling me the most powerful of all the mystic artifacts in the world is being held at a public museum in New York City? It didn't even have a rope around it, and it was sitting next to a Pepe the Frog meme. Alright, whatever. So the stone is fragmented into pieces in different dimensions, and Madam Web recruits 3 other Spider-Men from 3 other dimensions. There is the normal, Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Man 2099, and Ultimate Spider-Man. One really cool thing is that every one of these characters are voiced by someone who played them on the animated TV shows. That was a really nice touch. You get to play as each of the 4 Spider-Men, all trying to find pieces of the tablet in their own dimension, and that's the entire story. Like, that's really everything that happens. It's not really a good sign when the entire story can be put on a sticky note with room to spare. There is 3 acts, with each act having a mission from every different Spider-Man. Starting off with the Amazing Spider-Man, we're set in a jungle and have to chase down Kraven the Hunter. Let's start with art direction and graphics. The game is cel-shaded and pretty cartoony. This game is from 2010 and still holds up pretty well, and that's not easy to achieve. Except for the fact that Kraven looks like something I would see during sleep paralysis. What the hell is wrong with his face? Gameplay wise, this is a linear third-person beat-em-up game. You go through each mission fighting a boss and collecting another fragment of the tablet. Each Spider-Man has their own style of gameplay. Amazing Spider-Man is just a standard beat-em-up. The levels are about medium length, and it's just fighting groups of enemies and chugging along until you catch up to the boss. Every Spider-Man can swing around and web zip, but the Amazing Spider-Man has the most web swinging sections out of all of them. Web swinging isn't anything too crazy in this game. It feels more arcadey when you swing around, and it's not super fun to do, but it gets the job done. There's these little spider emblem collectible things that regain your health and give you XP to spend on upgrades. The upgrade system in this game is great. There is 2 different types of upgrades: character upgrades and combat upgrades. The character upgrades are things like more health, extra special moves, alternate costumes, and things like that. It tells you which Spidey you're upgrading, and there's a clear progression. The combat is the same thing, except you can get new moves for 1 or more characters. These upgrades are unlocked by completing challenges. Each level has 15 optional challenges you can complete. Some can be as simple as beating the main boss, and others can be like beating a group of enemies in a certain amount of time. I really like this idea. It gives the game a reason to be replayed. Theoretically, but I'll get to that later. Anyways, you punch your way to an arena and then you have to fight Kraven.
Now, the end game.
Wait, I didn't see Infinity War yet! Fighting Kraven is pretty easy. A few jabs and dodges will get the job done. Once you get him to low health, the game throws you into a first-person mode, where you have to dodge and punch him using the analog sticks. This is weird and super out of place. I see what they were trying to do, but it really doesn't work. The controls are super unnatural, and you end up just flicking the analog sticks around aimlessly. It's not the worst feature in the world, but it just takes me out of the moment whenever it comes up. Now that we beat Kraven, we'll move on to Spider-Man Noir. In the Noir levels, you have to stay in the shadows, and it plays more like a stealth game. Spider-Man is a weak-ass so you can't fight anyone. You have to take them all out stealthily. I gotta say, I didn't have a lot of fun with this one. I like the Batman Arkham games, which is really just a better version of this, so I don't really know why I didn't like this one. I think the enemies are too forgiving, making it have really low stakes. Also, the levels are much longer in this compared to any other character. The mission is basically just following Tombstone, doing some stealth takedowns, and saving some kidnapped civilians. This level did have a really cool boss battle though. You have to hide in the shadows while Tombstone is on a Gatling gun looking for you. That was a lot of fun and a cool idea. You have to get behind him and then you can web him up. Once you beat him, you have to chase him again and do the same thing as before. There is a really cool part where you have to climb on the walls, avoiding moving spotlights, and that was one of the few times I was actually nervous about getting caught. Once you beat that, you have to fight Tombstone again, but this time he's using a tablet fragment. Every boss for their final stage uses one of the tablet fragments in order to power up. This is a decent boss fight. You have to get him to shoot a steam pipe and then attack him when he can't see you. The boss fights were definitely the best part of the Noir levels. Everything else was kinda meh. Let's move on to Spider-Man 2099. The level starts off with you swinging around when suddenly Hobgoblin tackles you out of midair, and then he calls him, well...
What are you supposed to be? A demonic kumquat?
Am I gonna get demonetized for that? Hobgoblin then throws you off the edge and you enter this really cool skydiving part. You have to dodge cars and other things as you're falling to the ground. You also have to grab Hobgoblin in air and you can smash him into things. This is one of the coolest parts of the games and it feels awesome to be going so fast and speeding up in order to catch him. I honestly think this is some of the most fun I've had in a Spider-Man game. After that, you have to face him on the ground and it's not a great boss fight. All you do is catch pumpkin bombs in air and throw it back at him. This Spider-Man has a special ability that can slow down time. I know he's very fast in the comics, but it just seems weird for him and Ultimate Spider-Man to have an extra ability, but Amazing and Noir don't. Anyways, the level kind of plays out the same as the rest. You chase down Hobgoblin and have to fight other enemies to get to him. These enemies are called the Public Eye and are the 2099 equivalent to a corporate-owned police force. There's usually 3 types of enemies in each level: a standard thug, a shield or tough guy, and then a huge damage sponge guy. Once we catch up to Hobgoblin, he uses the tablet and we have to fight him again. The fight is pretty much the same as the first one, but he does use this cool psychic power to make the area look cool for like 3 seconds, and then it goes away. The fight's pretty easy, and there's nothing else very memorable about it. The final Spider-Man is the Ultimate Universe one. If you saw episode 9 of web series, you might remember this is my favorite iteration of Spider-Man, so I was super excited to see him back. At first I was worried because they gave him the black suit. I think it was so people didn't confuse him with the Amazing version, so I give it a pass. Madam Web is controlling it, so the suit doesn't take over. I think they did his character really well. He talks and acts exactly like the Ultimate Spider-Man would. So the level starts with, you guessed it, you chasing Electro, who has a piece of the tablet. You have to fight through 3 types of enemies until you reach him and have a boss battle. This boss battle is pretty boring, but this Spider-Man has a pretty cool special ability. He can use the black suit to do crazy damage when his rage meter is full. This Spider-Man is probably the most beat 'em up out of the beat 'em ups. Using rage mode is a lot of fun because the more people you attack, the longer you can use it. Later in the game when you upgrade it, you can get super high combos and it puts a huge smile on my face. After you fight more bad guys and save some civilians, you catch up to Electro and he used the fragment to become huge. This is a simple boss fight, but fun nonetheless. You dodge his attacks long enough to attack him, and then you have to swing over to the dam on top of boxes floating in air. Dodge a couple more of his attacks and kill a few of his guys, and you get another piece of the tablet. This was a really fun boss fight and actually made good use of the tablet. The level on its own was okay, but I gotta say, all the levels were kind of the same. You had to chase the boss, fight some goons, fight the bad guy once, save some civilians, and then fight the bad guy a second time. It got kind of boring after the first mission and felt lazy on the developers' part. But this game was made by Activision. They wouldn't make the same thing over and over again, I know it! Yeah, the entire game is just the same gameplay loop. There is a few cool gimmicks here and there, but honestly, there isn't a lot to say that won't just be me repeating myself over and over again. I'll go over one more level of each Spider-Man and then the ending. Let's start again with the Amazing Spider-Man. This is the first level in the second act. It starts off with Sandman grabbing you and has a really cool reference to Kraven's Last Hunt, but this time he turns into a giant sand tornado and you have to go around swinging on the boxes that are being thrown by the tornado. I really liked this in the last this level, and I really liked it in this level, and then I didn't. You do this so many times in just this one level alone. I should not be this bored doing something that looks this cool. The rest of the level is pretty cookie cutter, but it does have a cool boss fight. It's more of the web zipping, but you're fighting inside a tornado and Sandman is fighting his consciousness. That was a really cool idea and something we haven't seen in the games before. I really like that. You beat him up and then grab another piece of the tablet. Next up is Spider-Man Noir. This level isn't too crazy, but it does change up the gameplay a bit. You're at a carnival, but Osborn has set fireworks to go off every 30 seconds, so you have to be stealthy and time everything right. The stakes were definitely a lot higher in this one. I was caring a lot more about when to strike and in what order. Once you beat all these guys, you enter this funhouse. My jump scare senses are tingling. Oh, I guess not. Ah, Jesus! Spider-Man 2099 had you fighting the lizard. Again, this level is more of the same, but I think the skydiving scene was one of the coolest scenes in the game. Instead of the camera pointing down, it's facing up towards you and you're trying to escape from this falling ship. Also, Lizard is laying these weird eggs on the ground and it reminds me of the Flood from Halo. Damn, these things are everywhere. It's disgusting. Ugh, I'd hate to work in a place like that. Anyways, you have to dodge his attacks from long range, and then you throw one of the eggs back at him, making the ship from earlier fall on him and kill him. It's actually a pretty brutal scene, but I liked it. I was surprised to see Spider-Man kill someone, even if it is Spider-Man 2099. Finally, Ultimate Spider-Man. It's fitting that his level would be my favorite in the entire game. This is the last level on the second act. You get to a converted oil rig that is now a reality TV show hosted by Deadpool. The level starts out with him explaining that in order to get this piece of the tablet, he has to compete on his TV show and beat everyone.
Thanks so much for being part of our little webisode.
Hey, that's my joke. That's my show's name. Expect to see a letter from my lawyer. I think I like this level the best because it's really a breath of fresh air. Instead of chasing down the bad guy, you're just on this giant oil platform and have to find and destroy all of Deadpool's cameras. You can run and explore at your leisure, all while Deadpool is making jokes in the background. The boss fight is nothing crazy, but there was a tense moment where you had to make it to a platform before a tsunami hit you. And then you have to web zip on a boat that's being washed away by the wave. Before playing this level, I was really starting to get burnt out of the game, and this was a great change of pace. I know now that the game reverted back to the formula after this level, but I still really enjoyed it. When we get to the final boss of the entire game, I finally know how my teachers felt when me and my friend turned in our homework with the exact same answers. Yeah, so this looks familiar. Alright, honestly, I do like this, and I like how you get to fight him in 4 different styles, but come on. Noir Spider-Man is just Batman with webs. As the Ultimate Spider-Man, you fight a ton of bad guys and the shadow version of some of the bosses you fight throughout the game. Spider-Man 2099 skydives to Mysterio and literally just punches him in the face. And the Amazing Spider-Man has to swing from platform to platform and smashes his face with some webs. Once you beat him, the 4 Spider-Man grab the tablet and Madam Web sends everyone back to their own dimension. And that's game. This game was hard because in theory it should be a knockout, but with the gameplay being so repetitive, it's hard to want to go back and play it, even for the cool alternate suits. This is a game I did enjoy playing, but I have no desire to ever play it again. It wasn't awful, but after you played the first act, you've played the entire game. My final score for this one is going to be 6 alternate Spider-Man out of 10. Alright, another game down. We're really getting close to the end here. I will say I'm a little nervous. We had a pretty good streak going, but this game kind of dropped the ball. And it makes me scared about the future of the games. In times like this, I always turn to the good book. Alright, let's talk about the coolest addition to the web series set. This Spider-Man gaming chair. The folks over at NeoChair were kind enough to send me this chair to show off to all of you. This is like if a gaming chair got bitten by a radioactive spider. It's the most comfortable chair I have ever sat in. One of the coolest features about it is the embroidered spider emblems and Marvel logo on the back. And the neck and lower back pillows help me sit comfortably while fixing my bad posture. Normally when I sit in a chair, I look like a question mark. So if you're still sitting in a boring old desk chair, make the switch today with the Spider-Man gaming chair by NeoChair. An Amazon link will be in the description below. Thank you so much NeoChair for the sponsorship, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.